All right, I think we're on. Hey everybody, thanks for joining us, and thanks also for watching Mike, the orphaned bear cub and the bear cam on NJ.com. I'm Andre Malok from NJ Advanced Media, and I'm with Tracy Leaver, who is Executive Director of the Woodlands Wildlife Refuge. Hi Tracy.
Hi Andre. Thanks for coming to Woodlands.
Thank you for having us. So we're going to do a Q&A. We're going to learn a little bit about Mike, the cub, and and about his future and what happened in the past. But before we do that, can we actually see Mike? Is that a possibility?
Well, we'll see how Mike feels about that.
Okay.
So we'll see how he is. We'll have Melissa bring him over and.
Now this is actually his. We're close to his feeding time, or we're a little early here.
We're a little early, so we're fooling him.
Okay.
I do hear him.
I wonder if everyone can hear that.
So we'll give him come over. This may not last very long, but it is an opportunity for everybody to get a look at Mike. Everybody's been asking.
It's true that everyone has been emailing about what he sounds like, because we don't get to see get audio too much.
Yeah, so this is Mike. Mike's gotten quite a bit bigger than he was when we first brought him to you, and he's obviously expecting something right now he's not going to get, not for another hour or so.
Is he cranky when he wakes up usually, or?
Yes, this is the way he is when he wakes up.
Okay. Now what's he doing right now? He's
looking for something to eat.
Okay.
So, he is bottle fed, so he has... he is looking. It's kind of a bit of a tease right now with Mike. So we're not gonna put him through this too much longer.
Okay.
So we did want everybody to get a look at Mike, and thank you so much for all of your well wishes for Mike. And he's getting to be a big boy.
Sure is. He looks a lot bigger from when I first saw him.
We're gonna go ahead and give him back to Melissa.
All right.
Okay?
Thanks, Melissa.
Thanks, Mike.
Okay, so I guess he'll get his meal in a little bit, right?
He'll get his meal in about an hour or so.
So I guess we should just start at the start. How did he end up here at Woodlands Wildlife Refuge? And just if you can sort of give us a little background of how he arrived here and why.
Yeah, so Mike came to us about almost 6 weeks ago, 5 weeks ago. After a deer hunter inadvertently stumbled upon a ground den with a mom and several cubs in it. She obviously defended herself, and the hunter defended himself, to her actions. And, Mike is currently the only survivor of that interaction. He came with his brother Ike, as most people know, and we did lose Ike a couple of weeks ago, for certain complications that came up.
And that does happen from time to time in doing what you do here. Sometimes that does occur, right?
Yes, it actually occurs more often than we would like it to, but we're working with animals that come in already with some strikes against them. Obviously, they're coming in from some kind of an encounter with humans one way or another. Right. Whether it's, a tree being cut down or construction being done, on a home, being hit by cars, they're coming in with issues. Yeah. And, we're, of course, second best to the perfect wild world out there with, mothers of wild animals. Yeah. But we do our best. Our goal here is to receive, rehabilitate, and educate the public about wild animals. So we're giving animals a second chance. That's the best we can do.
So if you don't mind, let's go into some of the questions. We've been receiving questions both in email. I've been getting emails directly and comments on the website as well. So let's dive into a couple of those if you don't mind.
No.
This is from Diana or Diana, I'm not sure, and this is a comment online. Does he need to be held? His mother would be holding him and rubbing him. And he does not get this. I know he's picked up to be fed. You were just handling him just now, but his mother would be rubbing against him, making sounds for him to hear. Is he getting any of that kind of stimulation? Is that important?
Yeah, it's a really great question too. So I appreciate that. And we're not showing that time to the viewers online. It is quiet time that we spend with Mike. We are spending a very good amount of time with him every time we do feed him, and we do all of those things. So it's the opportunity that we have to give him the nurturing that he needs. So we do sit with him, we do feed him, we do, give him that nurturing attention. It's a tight wire that we walk on because we need to give the animal that attention, and at the same time, we have to hold back a certain amount too, because we don't want the animals that we work with to become habituated to humans. So it's a tightrope. We can't do it all. We have to just really balance that. So yes, Mike is getting that activity, that nurturing care, and then and then we have to leave him alone in between, and it's hard.
Right.
It's hard.
Now, just now you had gloves on when you did handle him,
yes.
And just before we were talking about an email that came in, a question about why you do wear gloves. What is the reason that you need to do that?
Well, we wear gloves with all the animals that we work with, and that's to prevent disease. Diseases coming from wildlife to us, and also from us to the wildlife we're handling. Especially in the case of these really young infants, they're susceptible to all kinds of things. And especially in Mike and Ike's case, they came in so young. I mean, they were only about a week old. And we just really have to be careful about disease transmission both ways.
Gotcha. That makes sense. Let's do another question here. This is another comment online from Ali Babe.
One of his better fans, I think, on your
yes,
on
yeah,
NJ.com.
she does. She posts quite a bit, so she's
one of Mike's fans. I should say.
One of Mike's fans, right? Yeah, exactly. So Ali Babe asks, what does Mike eat? How much and how often? Is he? So this is going to be like 12 questions. So you got to follow this.
No.
Is he? Is he adding the appropriate amount of weight? And sort of unrelated, when will his eyes completely open? But let's focus on the eating part and how much and how often.
Okay, so Mike is eating now 3 to 4 times a day, and what he gets fed is a man-made formula. It's actually from Fox Valley. It's called 3050. We're thankful that zoologists and scientists along the way have done great research on the components of natural mother's milk for various wild animals.
Okay.
And all we need to do is add water, which is really great. So all of the fat content, the protein content, the solids are very similar to what is in mother's milk. So he gets that. He is now getting about 60 mLs a day each feeding, which is a lot. It's 3 ounces. And he has, put on weight. He, as of this morning, is up over 2 pounds, which is a really nice weight increase just in the past week. Okay. So we feel that he's turned a corner now, and he's kind of taken off. Right. So we're still, cautiously optimistic about this all turning out really well.
And she also went on to ask about the eyes opening. Now, I was here. I don't know. I saw it. They were just sort of opening, and it's quite a bit larger now.
Yeah.
Are they fully open, or when will they become fully open?
They're not fully open yet. I'd say maybe 2/3 of the way. So over the course of the next week. So maybe by the time we do a 6-week update, his eyes should be fully open, if not, or close to it.
Gotcha. Now, I don't know if you see this on camera or hear it, but there's a little disturbance back here. And just as an aside, you're caring for bears, but you're caring for a lot of other animals here, right? So
yes, and thank you, Helen, for making your debut. Helen is one of our educational animals.
Do you have the audio on your muted on Andre? You're echoing a little bit. On your laptop.
Oh. That's all. It's muted. Sorry, folks. There's a little technical issue there. We're just checking audio.
So Helen, in the background here, is one of our education animals. Yes, we work with all New Jersey native species and the occasional exotic species that ends up needing a place to stay, to the tune of about 900 animals a year that we care for. Wow. Our education animals are animals that unfortunately have not been able to be released. And Helen is a representative of that here today.
Gotcha. Let's continue on with some more questions. This one it's an email question from Lynn from Michigan. By the way, actually, before we get into that, talk a little bit about the sort of the star attention that he's getting. I mean, he's getting a lot of looks online, on the webcam. You're getting emails, Twitter, and talk about him as in the stardom that he's sort of experiencing.
And many thanks to NJ.com for inspiring this, this webcam on Mike, the Cub Cam, and thanks to everyone that's viewing out there. I think as of just before this interview, he has been viewed almost 172,000 times.
Wow.
And there's usually between 300 and 400 people at any given time, watching him.
Yes.
So, he does have a fan club. Some fun things are that we've heard from 11 or 12 different countries, which is great. The top 10 are the United States, Canada, the UK, Germany, France, Australia, Brazil, Finland, New Zealand, Poland, Norway, and Hungary.
International.
And, it's really, really wonderful. And of course, most of the states.
Yeah.
So it's being that education is a huge component of our mission statement here. This has been an unbelievable opportunity for us to bring education about black bears, but also about the work that wildlife rehabilitators do, and certainly Woodlands Wildlife Refuge, and the effort that's out there for orphaned and injured wildlife. We're really thankful for the opportunity and for the interest. I mean, the people that are watching Mike and sending him well wishes and sending us good luck and sending donations is just absolutely, wonderful. We're so thankful.
Amazing stuff. So speaking of sort of interest from all over the place, this question was an email. This was emailed to me, I think, this morning from Lynn in Michigan, Plymouth, Michigan. And her question is, I was curious as to why the webcam feed doesn't have audio. Now, there is a fan in there, so we thought that it would be sort of just noisy and just annoying to have on the web. But it was sort of more privacy for you as well, right? I mean, you didn't want audio of you guys. Is that the reason?
Yeah, I mean, the fan, certainly, that's all they would probably hear, unless he's as loud as he just was, which is fairly often. But as we were just talking about, Mike's not the only animal at Woodlands Wildlife Refuge. We are a wildlife rehabilitation center that's caring right now for about 40 animals that we have. So we're working around Mike's incubator, passing back and forth through the education center, caring for our education animals, and also some of the rehab animals that we have in the room as well. So it's privacy for Mike, it's privacy for those animals, and the background sounds would be quite interesting, I think, if the audio was on.
It would. And she went on to say that it would be interesting to hear the sounds. Well, you
just heard it.
You just heard it. And also, just to remind you, there are other video content that I did with you previously, and there were feedings and so on. So those videos, if you find them on NJ.com, you'll certainly hear him in those as well.
And you've been really great about doing those updates, and we always have, like you said, the videos, and then we're doing regular postings on Woodlands Facebook site for those little videos that satisfy the need to see Mike in a little bit of a different way.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about his life inside the incubator. Now this gets interesting because I get a lot of talk about, and what I find interesting about what you do is that as soon as this sort of went out on the web, all of a sudden the spotlight's on you, and you get questioned on lots of things, and people are making observations.
You're never going to be good enough, that's for sure.
You're never good enough. But let's talk a little bit about the life inside the incubator. I don't know, temperature, the blankets, the stuffed animals. Just kind of explain the environment that he's in right now.
And those are great questions, and we understand that. There is no way to understand what we're doing here. It's different than what's really happening. The incubator is right now at about 80 degrees constant. And when Mike and I came in and they were so tiny, it was at 85 to 87 degrees. And that's because they weren't able to thermoregulate their own body temperature. So it had to happen for them. As Mike's growing and, all of his metabolism is kicking into high gear, he's able to regulate his temperature, better and better. And we'll keep lowering that temperature because our next step with him is to move him outside of the incubator.
Right.
So in the meantime, he's at, we're trying to keep his humidity up a little bit, 50 to 70% humidity and 80 degree temps. It's, again, second best to what's out there in the wild. He would be snuggled next to a really large, warm body, and there would be natural humidity in the den with leaf litter and things like that. Right. So really is a tough job on our part to try to mimic, gosh, it's not even close, but try to do our best to mimic conditions that he needs to be a healthy animal.
And is there an issue with him getting tangled? Some folks were concerned, well, he's out of sight, he's underneath a stuffed animal, he's under a blanket, he's out of sight. Is that an issue for him, safety-wise?
No, it's not at all. And we take great care as to what we're putting in there. And if he goes under a blanket, that's his choice.
Right.
He would be tucked tucked pretty tight, under mom or under her front leg, and trust me, her body parts would weigh a whole lot more than the blankets or the stuffed animals we have in there. So he does like to go under his things. He moves them around. I mean, he'd be tumbling, with other bears, his age, and, laying on top. It's funny because working with bears as much as we do, and even the other animals, they're just like any typical children that you put together. They're not really kind to each other.
Really?
They wrestle, they play, they roll on each other. Somebody's always angry, somebody's always on top. It's everything that we see him doing in the incubator is safe, and we take good care, to make sure that the bedding that's in there and the animals that are in there are okay.
You're right. And now I have to mention
the stuffed animals.
The stuffed animals, yeah. And I have to mention so many people talk about the poop because listen, he's not. You're not handling him as soon as he has to do his business.
Right.
Is that an issue? Just to put everyone's mind at ease. I mean, that would happen in a den, I would imagine. But mom is cleaning that up. Talk a little bit about that. And is that a problem?
It's not a problem, and we do appreciate that. It's pretty gross. It is. It's poop. We're experts at poop at Woodlands Wildlife Refuge, as is any other wildlife rehabilitation center of all species and all kinds. But it's perfectly okay that he ingests some of it. And it's actually not a bad thing at all. It's full of really good bacteria that his gut needs to create its own or keep up its own really good colonies of good bacteria. We all have it. So it's not something that would make him sick. We do worry about if he gets it stuffed up his nose, which has happened, and we're always around. There's somebody here, 7 days a week. We're always looking. We haven't ever had an animal in the 29-year history of Woodlands that's died from poop. It's natural. We understand that it's gross sometimes, but we aren't going to disturb him every time because that would just be a disturbance to make it cleaner.
Yes.
And that's not appropriate for his care.
Now, when we first started the webcam, initially it wasn't going to be around the clock, and we did that. And I know that lighting was going to be an issue at night. Now, in a den, he would be in complete darkness, or, well, depending, of course, right? If he was, if there was sunlight, or he was on top, or if he was burrowed underneath something. But is the light that he gets during the day now and at nighttime, is that an issue for him? Is that a disturbance for him? That was a question, by the way, from Donna. That was a comment from Donna.
And Donna, it's a great question, and thank you for your concern. We've made a bit of compromise in allowing people that are not on the Eastern time zone to see Mike, but it's not enough to make any negative influence on Mike. The light is really low. The camera is really good. At picking up just the ambient light that's in the room. It's really just one small light that's on near his incubator and a little bit coming off the emergency lighting that we have in the room too. But, we monitor it. Is he not sleeping well? We're looking at all of that, and it doesn't seem to have any effect at all. And again, it's dimmer than what it appears on view.
Yeah, good. That's true. So let's talk a lot. Everyone wants to know about this. The process in returning him to the wild. I mean, that is the end result of your efforts here, right? Is to put him back.
That's our goal.
So, can you sort of walk us through that that process?
Sure. And it's a goal for all of the animals that we work with is to release them back out into the wild. So with Mike, we have the opportunity that we usually don't have with all of the other animals we work with, or even the other bears that we get in every year. Is that in his situation, there are female bears out there now having cubs, or by the time we put him out in March, will have had cubs. And they're just the best thing for him. We're just, again, a poor substitute for that perfect situation that he came from. And we have an opportunity to give it back to him. So the process is Woodlands, the bears that Woodlands works with, they are part of the bigger research project that's going on in New Jersey. So in New Jersey, many female bears have radio collars on, and they're part of the Division of Fish and Wildlife's research project. And every spring they do den checks on the female bears. I think you've you've been part of that.
I have. They invited me a couple of times. I was really, really happy to do that. It was great.
And we have some of our collared bears over the years out there too that we've been able to go out and follow up on year after year. So they're already kind of identifying possible females. So what we're all looking for is a female that is experienced, so not a first-time mother, and one that has proven that she's had cubs, no problems, maybe 1 or 2 litters before. And then we'll go in to do the den check with Division of Fish and Wildlife. The female would be sedated. She'd be weighed and everything checked like they usually do with the den checks. The cubs weighed and checked, and then she'll just have an extra one at the end of the process.
And that's not an issue?
It's never been an issue. I mean, we've done it once before with 3 cubs we gave to a bear 5 years ago. We had little ones in like this. The wonderful story about that is that bear was a bear that we had rehabilitated and released 8 years prior.
Wow.
So that was a full circle for us. That was incredibly heartwarming. Not only did it show success of our program, she was a really good mom, and she fostered the 3 cubs that we gave her with no problem. There's precautions that are taken to make sure that things are okay. The human scent is disguised on all of the cubs before we leave the den. Vicks Vapor Rub is a good product to mask, just to put on the mother's nose to delay her scent from her smelling capabilities of coming back. Rubbing the cubs with her saliva, leaf litter, everything that's in the den. So Mike is just another cub in her den, and we don't think the bears can count. So, it usually goes pretty well.
Perfect. Now, from Donna also, she's wondering, is there any way to see him with his new mom? Now, I hope to be there if the division is kind enough to allow me to be a part of that. We'll certainly document that. But is there a way to know, or for people to see the mother? Is that a possibility? Will you maybe take some pictures if you're there and put them on?
One way or the other, we'll document that process, and certainly how when we leave the den, what was our last view of that situation. And I don't know if or how we will be documenting afterwards. Of course, we're going to be doing things that we can do to ensure that he's not rejected. There's no reason to think that he would be rejected, but we're looking into ways that we may be able to monitor the den closely. In the past, we have a person monitoring the den, but now with technology, there may be another way to monitor the den. But yeah, we'll certainly, in one way or another, follow up with everybody right through, Mike being left in the den with his new family.
And along those same lines, this is another question, and we're going to wrap up pretty soon. But this is from Alice in an email. She's wondering, when he is released to a foster mama bear, will Woodlands put some sort of an ID tag on him so that he is cited by human in the future? The person can report that, that person can report that Mike was seen. I sure would like to know how he fares instead of him becoming totally anonymous with the rest of the bear population, and we humans never knowing how he's doing. So, all right. So now, once he's placed and everyone's out of the picture, the division and you, is there any way of knowing how he makes out in the future?
Yes and no, in a roundabout kind of a way. It's the hard part of the work that we do. We're about giving second chances to hundreds and hundreds of wild animals every year, and most of the time, actually 99.9% of the time, the animals that we release, we don't know what happens to them because we're just giving them a second chance. We've done our job. There's nothing else that we can do to assure that they make it or not. With the bears, it's the only animal that we track. So all of the bears that we work with, the 100 bears in the past, and Mike, go out and become, they're identified. He'll have at least a microchip, if not an ear tag. As will, the bear that he's going to, and her cubs as well. So he may wander into a research trap. If he dies in the future, we'll know that too because of the tag. As far as, bears get hit by a car, they die from diseases. There's any number of reasons that, a bear would, we would get tag returns in that fashion. So as hard as that is sometimes to find out that one of our bears died, it also gives us, how well that bear did up to that point. And that's information that, in other, we would never have. So welcome to wildlife rehabilitation and the hard part of it. That's the bittersweet part, is we do our best to get them out there so they're the best functioning animals that they can possibly be. And we wish them good luck.
Now, some folks might say, well, maybe this is a waste of time. Maybe that bear or anything in the wild should have been just left for Mother Nature to take care of the way she does. Why do you do this? Why do you think this is important work?
Well, it's certainly not important to population numbers unless it's an endangered or threatened species, which we also work with. We get a lot, like, oh my gosh, New Jersey doesn't need another bear or another squirrel or another raccoon. But we're not out, taking them from the wild because we want to work with them. Every animal that we work with, those 900 to 1,000 animals a year, is attached to a human being that cared. And that's a really wonderful element, to say. It's a really wonderful thing to say about, the humanity that's in New Jersey about wild animals. Wildlife rehabilitation happens around the world, with the most common animals and the most endangered animals. And it's about the common animals, and they're coming to us because somebody knew about that animal. Mike came to us because the people that were at the den that day that caused the disturbance cared enough to report it. They could have walked. The person that hits an animal with a car could have just kept on driving. The person that was ripping their roof apart and found a nest of squirrels could have thrown them in the garbage. We deal with hundreds of these animals every year. And not only do we get to give those animals a second chance, each one of those people gives us the opportunity to educate the public about New Jersey's incredible wildlife. So it's a good thing. Wildlife in any environment is a good thing. And us being able to share with people why it's a good thing, is a great opportunity.
Now, and sort of, I think, lastly, how's this paid for? Talk a little bit about, Woodlands and, listen, there's electric bills, there's food, water, and so on and so on. So how is this, how is that taken care of?
And thank you for asking that, and for other people that have asked that as well. We are a local charity. We exist completely on donations from a generous public, and we do not receive any state or federal funding. So the donations are it. That's how we exist. People have been wonderful. Donations can be made through our website at woodlandswildlife.org. Right. We have lots of things, going on throughout the year to help us raise enough funds to, thank you for mentioning the facility, because it's not just about the animals. We can't help the animals if we don't have everything else, too. We have wonderful, volunteer corps of like 50 people throughout the year, and only 3 staff that do all of the work for those, 900 to 1,000 animals. Mike has disrupted things greatly. He has pretty much demanded all of our time, in the last month and a half, and that'll continue for another few weeks as we're trying to get ready for the really busy season when all of the other species start coming in March. We're not complaining. It's a wonderful opportunity, but he has shaken up our quiet time for sure.
Yeah, I can imagine. So I think we're gonna wrap it up there. Thank you so much for taking the time and answering the questions. I think it was really informative.
Been really happy about everybody's interest in Mike, and we're doing our absolute best for Mike that we possibly can.
Great to know, and I'm sure everyone watching is probably happy to hear that. And just so you know, we're going to be switching from this camera back to the live feed with Mike in his incubator. So those of you who are already missing him, we're gonna take care of that real soon. So just and also keep coming back, checking back with NJ.com for updates. I'll be kind of bouncing in and out, doing these updates in the next couple of weeks. So thank you for watching. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Thanks.